All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving headfirst into a massive clash between two of the absolute biggest names in personal finance. We are talking about two titans who completely disagree on how you should handle your money. And we're going to see who's actually right. If you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by all the conflicting financial advice out there, well, you are definitely in the right place.
Look, millions of fans are split straight down the middle on this one. On one side of the ring, you've got Dave Ramsey's extreme, no-nonsense discipline. And on the other, you have Ramit Sethi's unapologetic, guilt-free spending. The debate between these two camps is intense, and honestly, both have incredibly loyal followings. So rather than just picking a side based on emotion, we're going to neutrally break down both sides of this argument, looking straight at their core philosophies directly from the source material.
Okay, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll introduce our heavyweights. Then, we'll pit them against each other in 3 critical rounds: debt, credit cards, and spending, before finally rendering a verdict.
Let's kick things off with part 1, the heavyweights and their core philosophies. We're talking a literal night and day difference here. On one side, Dave Ramsey pushes intense austerity. His famous advice? Literally live on beans and rice. Attack debt like it's your absolute worst enemy, and physically take scissors to your credit cards. It is a philosophy of sheer willpower and restriction. Now, on the other side, we have Ramit Sethi. Sethi tells you to stop the guilt altogether and instead design what he calls a rich life, a lifestyle optimized specifically around the things you actually enjoy and value. Two completely different worlds, so let's see where they clash first.
Moving right along to part 2, round 1, debt. The classic snowball versus avalanche debate.
So Dave Ramsey is all in on what's called the snowball method. The strategy here is pretty simple. You list out all your debts from the smallest balance to the largest, and then you pay off your smallest balance first. And you do this completely regardless of the interest rate attached to it. Why? Because those quick psychological wins keep you motivated. When you see a debt completely vanish from your life, it gives you the emotional momentum you need to keep fighting and tackle the next one.
On the flip side, Ramit Sethi champions the avalanche method. His camp argues that you should absolutely attack the highest interest debt first. This approach just completely ignores the size of the balance and focuses purely on the math. By eliminating the debt that's charging you the most interest, you mathematically save more money overall and get out of debt faster. Even if, it takes a bit longer to get that first satisfying feeling of crossing an account off your list.
So what does this actually mean for you? Well, they're kind of both right, depending entirely on your psychology. You really have to ask yourself, who are you in this scenario? If you desperately need that early motivation to stick with a long-term plan, the snowball method wins every time, because human behavior thrives on progress. But if you already have the discipline and you just want pure mathematical savings, the avalanche method is the undisputed winner.
All right, let's jump into part 3, round 2, credit cards, the danger versus reward showdown. 24%. Seriously, let that sink in for a second. That is the average interest rate on a credit card today. Ramsey argues you should have absolutely 0 credit cards, period. He firmly believes they are fundamentally designed to put people in debt. And honestly, when you look at that 24% average interest rate, he correctly identifies them as incredibly dangerous for a massive portion of the population. If you fall behind even a little bit, that math turns against you very, very quickly.
So while Ramsey views these things as a literal financial trap, Sethi completely flips the script. His side argues that, if used responsibly, credit cards are just a tool. They build your credit score and they can earn you some serious travel and cashback rewards. To Sethi, if you're avoiding credit cards entirely, you're simply leaving free money and benefits on the table out of fear. So, looking at where we stand, the winner of this round comes down to one absolutely critical question. Do you carry a balance? If you are someone who is tempted to carry a balance from month to month, Ramsey hits the nail on the head. That 24% interest will absolutely destroy your finances. But if you're someone who pays your balance in full every single month without fail, well, Sethi is right. You are missing out on rewards by just using a debit card or cash.
Let's move to part 4, round 3, spending philosophies, delaying gratification versus designing your life.
Ramsey's whole deal revolves around delayed gratification. His famous quote pretty much sums it up perfectly. Live like no one else now so you can live like no one else later. Basically, what that means is cutting everything and saving everything right now. You sacrifice your current comfort, you delay your enjoyment, and you build this massive fortress of financial security so that you can enjoy it safely down the road.
But then you have Sethi, who basically throws that advice right out the window. He advises you to actually spend extravagantly on your passions, just as long as you ruthlessly cut costs on the things that don't matter to you. Like, If you love travel, spend heavily on it. But maybe you couldn't care less about the car you drive, so you cut that expense down to the bone. It's all about highly intentional spending in the present moment, rather than just blanketing your life with restrictions for some future date.
Stop feeling guilty about the latte. I love this because it perfectly captures Sethi's vibe. We have all heard the advice that buying a daily coffee is the one thing keeping us from getting rich. Sethi says, no, stop feeling guilty about the latte. His core argument is that obsessing over tiny $5 expenses is a massive waste of human energy. Instead, you should be spending that energy on the bigger financial levers. Things like negotiating a higher salary, growing your overall income, or setting up automated investments.
And that brings us to part 5, the final verdict. Who actually wins this thing?
Honestly, the winner is, well, neither of them and kind of both of them. It all comes down to your current reality. Look, if you are drowning in high-interest debt and you desperately need structure and a total behavioral overhaul, Ramsey's tough love approach is an absolute lifesaver. It provides the strict rules you need to break bad habits. But if you're already financially stable, your debts are managed, and you want a framework to actually enjoy the money you're making, Sethi's approach is probably going to fit your lifestyle a whole lot better. The absolute biggest takeaway from this whole explainer: do not blindly pledge allegiance to just one expert. Personal finance is exactly that. It's personal. The secret to success here isn't picking a side just so you can win an argument in a comment section. It's about self-awareness. You've got to take the specific pieces of advice that apply to your unique circumstances and just leave the rest behind. So I've got to know, where do you land on this? Do you lean more toward Ramsey's hardcore strict discipline or Sethi's rich life framework? Which one of these actually fits where you are right now in your journey? Are you willing to sacrifice your present for a secure future, or do you demand a rich life today? Let me know down below.